Welcome to Southern Life. On this video, we're going to talk about moving to Alabama. If you're thinking about moving to Alabama, I'm sure you've been on the internet and you've seen all of the horrible things that people have to say about this beautiful state. But I did it myself. In 2020, we packed all our things and we decided to move to Alabama. Many people told us this was a massive mistake. But looking back on it now, coming to Alabama was the best thing we ever did. Let's talk about it. When you look at statistics, one might assume that Alabama is a horrible place to live. A lot of YouTubers, like From Here to There, The World According to Briggs, and Nick Johnson have nothing but horrible things to say about Alabama because they're only looking at statistics. However, I actually live here. And I'm coming from Naples, Florida. I came from one of the most desirable places to live in the United States. And when I tell you that I'm happier, living a more fulfilling life, and making more income in Alabama than I did in Florida, it's because it's true. And that may not be the case for everyone, but if you're a working class person like me that wants to get ahead, Alabama is a great place because of the affordability. There are no brutal winters here. And if you're going to retire, there's also a lot of great things in store for you. So before I tell you guys how great Alabama really is, let's take care of getting a few issues out of the way. Low incomes. Alabama has some of the lowest incomes in the entire country. Very simple explanation. Mortgage-free home ownership is even higher among low-income families and in small cities with low housing costs, according to a study by Construction Coverage. When you own your house outright, like many people do here in Alabama, you don't need to make $100,000 a year. Many of the states with the lowest incomes also have the highest rates of paid-off home ownership. Many of the states with the highest incomes have the highest mortgage rates. They also have the highest home prices, which means that even though they're making $100,000 a year, they're not living $100,000 a year. And I can confirm to you that somebody making $20,000 a year in Alabama with a paid-off home is living better than somebody in another state making $100,000 a year if they have a very high mortgage or an extremely high rent. And this in itself can explain why Alabama has lower incomes. Many people in nearby states like Florida are very, very reluctant to even consider Alabama. The first thing they mention is low incomes. However, if you were to eliminate the 1% of high earners in Florida and in Alabama and just compare the 99%, which is where most of us are going to end up, turns out that Alabama's average income would be $2,000 higher than Florida. So a lot of these states, they have income inequality. So as an average, the entire state may have a very high income, but when you get rid of those extremely high 1% earners and just look at the regular population, turns out that those states really don't have a great income for everybody, only for a very select few amount of people. People moving focus on a very small amount of information, namely income and crime statistics. However, there's a bigger picture that you have to look at. For example, if you're looking at incomes alone and you don't calculate the cost of living, let's take a look at Florida, for example. In Florida, many places are tourist towns, and these tourist towns, they want to keep their crime rates as low as possible. Therefore, the police is very likely to let a lot of small crime slide because they don't want to raise their crime rates. Many rural communities, on the other hand, are very hard on crime because they want to protect their communities from criminals, so they'd be more likely to arrest somebody and not give people a break because they want to keep their communities clean and crime-free. So when you look at crime statistics of a beach town that's trying to keep their crime rate low and compare it to a rural community that is hard on crime, you may think that that small rural community has a much higher crime rate. But it's not because there's more crime in general, it is because law enforcement is specifically targeting and going after criminals and not giving people who break the law a break. Recently, an online list had Miami Beach as the most dangerous place in Florida. I can assure you, Miami Beach is not the most dangerous place in Florida. The daily population of Miami Beach is higher than the resident population because most people there are tourists who are having a good time, and they're more likely to be involved in crime because they're drinking, partying, and having a good time. However, I can guarantee you there's other parts of Miami that are much, much more dangerous, especially for tourists, and they're going to have a lower crime rate because nobody goes there to party. So yes, Alabama does have a higher crime rate because Alabama law enforcement does not tolerate criminal people. If you break the law in Alabama, we will find you a husband in a prison. In other states, females really catch a break when it comes to law enforcement. In Alabama, females do not catch a break, and a lot of females are incarcerated. Just comparing percentages of the population versus percentages of arrests by gender and by other demographics, that I was able to determine that it seems like in Alabama, law enforcement is not targeting specific groups for any reason. What I have found is that Alabama is a much better place than people on the internet and statistics put it out to be. I expected it to be a place where I would make less income, and it's actually given me more income and opportunities than I could have ever expected. Let's talk a little bit about the culture of Alabama. The people here, they're not trying to get wealthy. They're not trying to accumulate a lot of wealth. So a lot of people here are just content having the basic things they need for their family. Therefore, they're less materialistic. It's a much better state for you to be self-employed. And I don't encourage people who depend on the economy and retail to come to Alabama. This is more of a place for somebody who's got a small net worth and is self-employed. Those types of people are much more likely to succeed. From the union. No, wait. I meant to say to be successful. If you want to work in construction or a small little company or a pressure washing company or open up a little restaurant or anything where you're the boss, this is a great state to do it. Save money for your future because the housing is affordable. I think it's a great place for people who are disciplined, who want to save money, and who are looking to make their future better. If they're poor, they're starting out in life, I think Alabama is great for this type of situation. Neighboring state of Mississippi was rated the most stressed out state. I really doubt that. So we're going to call somebody in Mississippi and ask them if they're stressed.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, ma'am, how you doing?
I'm all right. How you doing?
You worried about something out there, ma'am?
I ain't worried about anything.
You ain't worried about what?
Anything.
Oh, all right. So you're not really stressed out about your mortgage payment being late?
Nah. What's that dog doing? Get that dog put away.
Ma'am, I don't care about your dog.
I ain't got no mortgage.
All right. What about that car loan? You got that? How much you pay every month for your car loan?
I don't pay for anything.
What on earth is a finna thing? All right. Thank you, ma'am. All right. So as you can see, this person in neighboring Mississippi is not worried about a finna thing. Now, I don't know what a finna thing is, but it's not concerning this person at all. All right. Now we're going to call Karen in Connecticut. Hey, Karen, how are you? Let me ask you a quick question. Hello?
Hi, this is Karen. I am currently probably busy. I'll call you back if I get a chance.
Okay, she's busy, so we're not going to talk to Karen in Connecticut, but you get the idea. She's probably working to pay off her mortgage. There's really no stress in the South. The speed of life here is incredible. It doesn't even matter if it's a Monday or a Sunday here. I mean, you're still going to make enough money to live, and you're still going to be all right. And unless you've got like child support or something, and then your life might be more complicated. But if, like, I ain't got kids, I ain't got child support, no kids that I know about. So I don't have any concerns. And for somebody like me who just wants to live an easy lifestyle, ain't no baby mama calling me about no child support or something like that, then Alabama is a great place for you. It's really chill, it's really quiet. The people are so friendly. One of the things that I love the most about Alabama is the people. They are so cordial, they're so friendly. And you know, another thing that I forgot to mention about crime was that every state has different laws. And what may be illegal in one state could be legal in another. Therefore, when you compare crime statistics from state to state, every single state has different laws. And each one of those states is going to enforce those laws differently. And some states are going to be going after a lot more than other states. Therefore, it's very unfair to compare the crime statistics of one state to the crime statistics of other states when each one of those states has different laws and different approaches to enforcing those laws. 54% of low-income Americans have paid off homes, outpacing the national average by 16 percentage points, although they're less likely to own a home overall. Homeowners with six-figure salaries tend to face higher mortgage payments relative to their income. So while they're making more money, they're actually in a much deeper hole than the average person who owns their little place. And that's where the question comes along of what type of person are you? Are you a person who is devoted enough and willing to work those long hours and stressful lifestyles to eventually end up with a whole lot more in theory? Or are you content with just having the basic necessities in life? And that is where is Alabama right for you can be answered. Are you really all about that big city hustle? You really want to slow things down and just enjoy life for what it is. If in fact life is harder in a place like Alabama and you are a big city hustler, perhaps you could perfect your game and learn a little bit more about life, because struggle does make you tougher. And I will say that Alabama has made me a much more independent person. I've learned to rely on myself more than the economy or what is this? No, it's the YouTube police. Recently, we were checked out, pulled over, detained by the YouTube police. We were cited for being insensitive to people, their emotional support pets, and for not being politically correct. We were put in YouTube prison for a week and offered an opportunity to repent for our behavior and come back as a more gentrified version of Southern life, because people today are just too sensitive for my raw content. I like to be honest with you guys and give you guys the truth, because I know the decisions that you're making are important. However, we're going to have to tone it down a little bit because the YouTube police is not happy with our honest review about things. So we're going to talk about the next topic, but we're going to talk about it in a very appropriate and more subtle way. People have asked me if everybody's been friendly to me because I am Latino. Well, it turns out that the vast majority of people are very friendly. However, there's that small percentage of the population who isn't the friendliest. And I have got to meet individuals. Let's say if there was a baseball team that people didn't like, it would probably be the New York Yankees. So it's not the most welcoming place. So I would probably not want to wear a New York Yankees hat in this area. Unwelcoming place at times, but it is a small percentage of the population. The vast majority of people here are very welcoming and respectful to everybody, and it's not fair for those people to represent the state in its entirety. And I want to be very clear about that, because just because there's a small percentage of people in Alabama that are a little bit primitive, that should not taint the reputation of the entire state, because it's not fair. There's a lot of construction here. There's a lot of business investments. There's many large companies here and government agencies and universities, and there are many successful people here in Alabama. So it's not fair to taint those people with a reputation that only represents a small percentage of the state. How would you feel if everybody who thought about California, the first thing that came out of their mouth was Skid Row, and that is the only concept that they had about your state? Or let's say you're from Florida. What if the only thing that people thought about Florida was that in Overtown there's an underpass full of homeless people, and that is the only concept outsiders had about your state? It would be very offensive, wouldn't it? And what I find interesting is how people from other states are okay with talking down on Alabama and Mississippi, and that's really offensive. And I think a lot of people in other states need to be more sensitive when they refer to our situation here in Alabama, because again, that does not represent the entirety of the state. Madison, Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama, these places are diverse and modern, just like San Francisco, New York, or any other modern place. So Alabama is not all one single thing, and you may find a community in Alabama that fits your particular tolerance level. And also, I think we should coin other terms to refer to Alabama. And maybe instead of saying people are backwards, we could say they're primitive. Isn't that a little bit kinder? I mean, we're kind to all these other people in society, but we're so harsh on the people of Alabama, aren't we? It almost seems like a two-faced standard about how we refer to a lot of people in a very kind and courteous fashion. However, when it comes to referring to the natives here, we're a little bit offensive in the terms we like to use. Every state is going to have a small percentage of people that does very primitive things. Maybe the Skid Row in California. I mean, we can go on about every single state is going to have something that is a little bit embarrassing about it. Hey, you know what's not embarrassing about Alabama? The football teams. Whether it may be an amazing team like Alabama, or a team that has nice colors on their uniforms like Auburn. Sports are great here, and there's a lot of great things about Alabama. So if you've been considering Alabama, this is the most honest video you're going to get on the internet. Yes, it's got a few bad things, but you know what? That's what Alabama offers. It offers that full package, and every state is going to offer a different package. Some states may not have people that are primitive, but they may have high rents, or they may have a lot of homelessness. Every state has different situations, and you got to take the good with the bad. That's Alabama.